Find us on Facebook, email us at head2headpinball@gmail.com, or go to our website at head2headpinball.com. Welcome everybody to the Head2Head Pinball Podcast, episode 11. I'm Martin, and with me as always,
Ryan C. with a clear voice.
Ryan C. It's good to have your voice back, I think.
Yeah. I struggled last week, and I listened back to the podcast, and I'm sorry I sounded so horrible. But yeah, we're good to go for another chock-filled episode of pinball goodness.
Yeah, we do have a lot to talk about. We are going to be talking about a follow-up on Attack from Mars, the remake. We played it last week, and we thought something was not quite right, so we've got some information on that. We are going to talk about... We're going to sort of delve into a bit about forum wars and what's been going on in Aussie Arcade recently. We've got a bit of news on Alice Cooper, Aliens... Steve Ritchie and the infamous post on the Star Wars LE. We're going to talk about some events coming up. We're talking about streaming that's coming up for Jersey Jack 4. And we are also going to talk about the death of, sadly, Hugh Hefner. And obviously that's pinball related.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this podcast for the first time, the format is usually that we talk about pinball news for the first half, and in the second half we're just talking about what we did during the week, and we do a lot of stuff during the week. Again. So it's 50-50. So if you're only interested in the news, listen to the first half, but it's good ramblings in the second half. So they are long podcasts, but if you just after the news, just listen to the first half.
Or not at all, which is what I'm sort of hearing.
Yeah, just press stop now and just go on living your life. Anyway, all right.
But also, we've also got another competition this week.
That was a but. That was 3 butts in a row.
Well, and that will come back to bite me at the end of this episode. So stay around to the end after the news just to hear how butt comes back to bite me at the end of this. But we have another competition.
Ah, yes, we do. I think it's much needed with all the drama that's been happening. It's the prize is much needed for some.
Yeah.
So first up, we got some news on AFMR. So we talked last week about how much we loved Attack from Mars. Everything is perfect in every way except for the flippers. We couldn't we couldn't figure out exactly what was up, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't hit the lock shot, and
I just remember I was saying last week, because you were saying, maybe you just need to angle the flippers differently. And I remember saying, I think it's beyond the flipper angle. I think there's something to do with the mechs.
Yeah, and Bruce from Slam Tilt Podcast explained this in pretty good detail maybe a month ago. And I totally zoned out because I hadn't played it. So I don't like forming opinions on things that I haven't experienced myself, because then I'm just like a headline reader. But basically, someone has proven that we're not crazy on Pinside. And I love this because I love when someone proves something with science rather than just their opinion. And basically what he's done is he's hooked up, I believe, an oscilloscope, and he's hooked it up to one end of the switch or the opto for when the flipper button is pressed, and the other end on the coil to see if there's a delay from for when the flipper gets energized and flips and makes a shot. And he did this for his original Attack from Mars, and the delay was so minuscule that his equipment couldn't read. So it was instant, less than 1 millisecond or 0.1 millisecond, whatever it was. He then did it on Medieval Madness Remake, and there was not only a delay, but there was a variable delay. So the delay, I don't have the thread in front of me at the moment, but say it was about 3 milliseconds, which is an incredibly small amount of time.
Yep.
But it was plus or minus 1.5 milliseconds.
Right. Okay.
And this is, and you can go through the thread and you can read it, and half of the posts are useless because some people saying, "Oh, well, I've got a remake and I think it's great," and have a look at the resale value; they're doing fine.
Good for you.
No one cares.
Great.
Like, get lost. We
That's
don't
not what
care
this
about
is
that. We're
about.
trying to, yeah, this people are talking science here. We're trying to figure out why. And Ben Heck has come in and explained why there's a delay, the variable part of the delay, to do with the clock speed, basically, of the system they're using, and yeah, I don't think it can be solved unless they isolate the flippers to immediately go off with a transistor, because it's using a computer to receive the signal and then send the signal back to the coil to fire off. It's very small, but it's enough to miss the shot.
Well, okay, so it's not just that it makes so much more sense now, because we played that Attack from Mars remake for 3 hours, probably a little bit longer, and it wasn't just that you missed your shot; you could never find the shot. Didn't matter how much you try. Like, normally you play a machine a couple of times, you get a bit of muscle memory, and you know exactly where the shot is, and you can repeat it. We couldn't repeat shots on this game, and that makes a lot of sense if there is a variable delay.
Yep. People talk. I will link the thread, and you can read. It's very interesting because people say that it's not about the reaction time; it's about the coil's reaction time. And if there's a delay, your brain is smart enough to kind of, after a while, like as you said, muscle memory,
Yep.
will counter that delay. But if the delay is variable, then it's more got to do with a little bit of luck. Now, if you hit a shot absolutely perfectly, maybe that small delay won't make a difference. But if you a little bit off to the left and then you add the delay, you're even more to the left, you're going to miss your shot. So everyone says that pinball is maybe everyone uses different percentages, but maybe I think 15% luck and 85% skill, or maybe 20-80.
Yeah.
This just adds that little bit more percent, but I mean, it's the most. It's not a pop bumper or something that's sitting there firing off weird. It's the flippers. It's the steering wheel for the whole thing. It's the most important part of the machine. Right? You would agree?
Yeah, and probably again, it's making so much more sense, because if you remember last stream, I think it was my second game, I got a 17 billion score, and I was playing that game on the fly, which is my historically, as is a lot of people, style of play. But then later, as I was getting used to the machine and was trapping the ball and then trying to pick my shots, that was when I couldn't get a good score, which is now obviously sounding like an excuse, but it actually is that. As I was slowing down the game, trying to pick my shots, it was really frustrating because I was hitting at what I believed to be at exactly the same time, and it was just missing. It was missing ramps, it was missing the lock shot, couldn't hit the center shot for the life of me, and it just felt a lot more random. At the time when I was playing, I felt that was a lot of fun, the randomness, but if you're taking this machine seriously and you're going for, let's say it was in a competition setting, that would be a deal breaker for me.
Yeah, I mean, now that this is the thing, and people always say there's a difference, but no one, as I said, it was just kind of opinions, and unless you can kind of prove it with science, then nothing would ever be done about it. So I'm happy that it's out there now, and I hope people will take a little bit further and do test as to, if you can release the flipper at the same time, if you can get some kind of like robotics involved, or if you can send a signal to trap the ball, let go and then release it exactly at the same time, how different the shot would be compared to an original. Well, no, it's really hard, isn't it? Because each machine is different. I don't know. Someone's got, I think Keith Allen has like a video, I think, Pinball Basics 101. People keep on mentioning this video, and I've never seen it available. I think it's a video from a while ago that he did with his brother. And someone posted that in that video, they said that an 8 millisecond delay from flipping is the difference on the pinball machine, the Shadow, between hitting the right ramp, which is a pretty far back shot,
Yep.
And the mode start hole. Two totally different shots, hitting it perfectly clean, 8 milliseconds difference. And this is almost half that. So, it's the difference between making a shot and hitting a post instead of the actual shot.
And so we've actually got a bit of a quote from that thread, I believe. I'm going to read it because I think that it really does. Again, we're talking about it. It scientifically backs up what we thought was just a bit of a gut feel last week when we came away saying that we'd had fun, but we just kind of just felt that it was a bit too random. So it says, I believe human reaction time is a valid measure, but not relative to the discussion on how variable response time to a flipper button presses impacts the ability to consistently get the same reaction out of a flipper. So it says, based on the little research, the human brain has a great ability to visualize an object that is moving and then to predict where it will be at a very precise time. The same is true for pinball moving toward a flipper. Whether fast from around an orbit or slow down an inlane. As such, reaction time doesn't matter. It's the brain's ability to say, I want to flip when the ball is here on the flipper, to predict when that will be, and then to actually complete that task, which is done significantly before the ball is actually in that position. If the delay for pressing the flipper button to the flip is consistent, the brain will automatically compensate, and then you'll get a predictable and repeatable result. With a variable delay, the result will not be repeatable, and now the result is more luck-based. That right there sums up exactly what I was saying.
Yeah, it's extremely interesting to me. I mean, this is the stuff that I get kind of excited about because I hope I hope there's something they can do about it on a software level. If there isn't, then I think all future remakes need to, I don't think it matters that much for slings. It'd be nice if the slings were insert, but this is all coils, right?
Yeah.
Pop bumpers, they're not as important. Maybe the slings are because they're, a bit more close to where the ball drains, but flippers are just so important. You have to get them right. And as I said, I think there are some things you can do, because of the delay, you can drop your flippers down a little bit and maybe increase the strength. Those two things together are going to reduce it a little bit, but there's still a very small amount off. And I don't know. I mean, you're a competition player, Marty. You've been one for a long time. Like, do you think that even though there's a lot of machines that play bad and everyone's playing the same machine, but since pinball is you're trying to find out who has the greatest skill, do you think that remakes should be in serious competitions?
It's a good call. I wouldn't want it to be. Personally, I would, if I came up against it, I wouldn't want it to be in a tournament. But mind you, I wouldn't want Ghostbusters to be in a tournament for a similar reason, in that it's too random. The point I make though is that it's such a simple thing to say. Your physical connection with the pinball machine, the only physical connection you have is between you and the flippers, the flipper buttons. And when you go up and you play a machine for the first time, I don't know, some people just plunge the ball, but the first thing that I do is I flip the flippers just so I can feel what the flippers are like. Flipper feel is incredibly important. That is your connection between man and machine, right there.
Oh my god! But you know what I'm thinking of? Thinking of that scene from Avatar where they go up to those things and they connect with the banshees.
Oh,
is that what you're doing, Marty? You plugging into the machine?
You are plugging in. But you think about it. That it really is. Your physical connection is your fingers and the button, and you feel feedback from that button. I know I've made this parallel before, but it's like a car. When you're pushing a car to its limits and you're getting feedback through the steering wheel from the tires, that feedback is really important for you to instinctively know what you're going to do and how you're going to react. So precisely with this, the parallel is you're getting feedback, you're feeling the flipper, you feel the machine via those flippers. And if there's something that's randomized now about those flippers, that makes it very difficult to feel and get connected with that machine and know how you're going to do your shots. And absolutely what you're saying is when you're coming to a tournament, and a tournament is all about getting in tune with the machine, if you are now unable to get in tune with that machine, take it out of a comp.
The funny thing is that the next machine is rumored. I think they said they're going to release, announce it at TBF. We missed that news last week, but apparently, the word on the street who knows if it's true, is it's Monster Bash. Now, Monster Bash has this feature, if you know about it, Marty, called Phantom Flip.
I do know the Phantom Flip, yes.
Yeah, so Phantom Flip, I believe the way it works, I didn't own one for long enough to dive down deep into it, but I'm pretty sure it times well, the way it works is you hit a target, Phantom Flip gets activated. When you roll over the inlane switch, it makes a sound, and it will flip, and it's meant to hit a shot, and that's lit, the shot that you want, kind of like the thing flips on.
Yes, I was going to say thing flips,
but it doesn't work all the time, and it's meant to learn.
Correct.
Basically, depending on how the machine's set up, it starts a timer from when the inlane switch gets, I think, activated or deactivated, and then it has an opto there, so it uses that for the speed, and then it flips. Now, I've played lots of Monster Bashes, but two of them a lot. One of them would hit it like maybe 80% of the time. The other one was shocking. It would only do it maybe like 30-40% of the time. If you add in this delay, I have no idea how they would ever be able, because the variable delay, you can't even like build a delay into it.
Yeah.
How is Phantom Flip ever going to work on a remake? It would just always, you would never use it. It'd be the most pointless feature ever. So I thought that was, I thought about that today, and I thought that was an interesting potential talking point when the machine eventually gets released.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, if it is variable, how is it ever going to be able to learn? That's yeah. So Planetary Pinball, you've sort of got your work cut out for you. The question I want to ask you, because I haven't read too much into it, have they explained technically, like the actual devices themselves, what's different between the new ones and the old ones for it to be that?
Yep.
Different coils, different mechs. What is it?
No. I think the mechs are the same. It's the way that that it communicates. Basically, when you press the flipper button on the original machines, a transistor is used to amplify the signal and power up the flipper coil. So it's instant. It's like the speed of light, I believe. It's just like it's as quick as it can be on an electricity level, right? The new ones, everything's controlled by a computer. Like I'm pretty sure it's like a chopped down version of Linux. So it's running Linux. Linux only checks. It's limited to like the cycle and how quick it checks the inputs and outputs. It's all in the thread, so I'm going to be like, I'm not probably saying it properly, but basically every time a CPU clock cycle repeats, it can check in there, but it can't kind of execute until the cycle is complete, I believe. So it's a limitation on the way they're controlling the signals. So people have suggested that they can control everything through the computer except for the flippers, like have a separate Fliptronics board, just make it like it was in the old one, and then the remakes are freaking perfect. They're better than the original, right? But there's always this argument of which one is better, the original and the remake. And by the way, I know we've been talking about it for like 20 minutes already, right? Me and Marty are really anal about this stuff, and a lot of people are. Some people don't give a shit at all.
Yeah.
Like if you've got an Attack from Mars remake ordered and you don't sit there and obsess about pinballs like we do, it's still beautiful. It still plays really good. It's just it's a little bit different. And if you had one machine, you would never notice. If you have 20 machines, like me, it would just drive me crazy.
But I think we're actually doing a service to people. We know someone, hi James, that's getting one, and rather than him thinking what's wrong with me, why can I not pick these shots when it used to be so easy, at least he can now logically understand why it's a bit more randomized and just be comfortable with it. And I think as a home game, it's still lots of fun. As a comp game, it would infuriate me because I just wouldn't be able to pick my shots.
Yeah. All right. I think we've extracted all the juice out of that
story. we have. So Alice Cooper, tell me about Alice Cooper. What news do we have?
About 5 days ago, Charlie popped on Pinside, and he just had this little snippet to reveal, and he said, "I'm hoping that when Alice Cooper is fully revealed, we will have some games ready to ship before we announce it." Well, I'm not sure what the difference is between reveal and announce, but anyway, I hate making anyone wait. I hate sitting on money even more. Kind of a necessary thing on our level, but working crazy hard to reduce that as much as possible. So that's really exciting because that means that whenever it is revealed, which we don't think it's going to be at the Chicago Pinball Expo because they're debuting Total Nuclear Annihilation for the first time at the side event at Pinball Life.
Well, that's a bit odd, isn't it? That they're debuting it when they've already shipped number one.
Well, I mean, debuting it to the public, you know.
Sure. Okay.
So it's exciting that when it happens, maybe it'll be at TPF next year in March. They might say, well, here's the reveal, like this is it, kind of like dialed in, and we've already got some ready, and we'll take your order and we'll ship it in a couple of months.
Well, I've got to say I'm quite keen on this because I know we've speculated before, but this is, from what I've heard, this is Spooky now saying we are now going to make a game that is contemporary with modern Sterns and Jersey Jacks. Whether it's, you know, from Stern to Jersey Jack or beyond, we don't know. But they have actually said this is going to be a fully fledged, packed machine. So I'm kind of really excited about seeing what it's going to look like.
Yep, and on the Spooky podcast yesterday, I haven't had a chance to listen to it, but I got a quote from Jeff from This Week in Pinball. Thanks, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
We wanted to do something different in an Alice Cooper game. Typically, a music rock themed pinball is all about the artist. You start as a roadie, you work your way up to a manager, and then you're starting the songs. We wanted to do something completely unique. The premise: as you're going into Alice's castle, you're battling all of the monsters that live there, and Alice is the overlord, so to speak, directing them to attack you. And all the Alice songs have to be earned, which is unique in a music theme. So I guess you're fighting off. I guess the monsters might be the modes that you're fighting off, and each monster that you battle has a song attached to it, and you collect it like you collect SIM cards and dialed in. I don't know.
So, well, I mean, the obvious question is, what Alice Cooper song would you want to earn in the game, Ryan?
Mate, I don't give a shit about Alice Cooper. All I know, I'm serious. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, that doesn't mean that I'm gonna be like, oh, it's a stupid theme, I don't want to play it. I just don't know. People know so much, like you, Marty, know so much about music and artists. I'm the kind of guy who'll have a favorite song and I'll listen to it 200 times. And I won't even bother to, if you tell me to sing the song to me, Ryan, I don't know the lyrics. It's just a tune in my head. I don't actually listen to it. It doesn't mean I don't connect with music like other people do, and I don't care about the backstory about when certain person left and this person, Kiss was so much better when Ace Frehley was there, and I'm like, I don't care.
Well, I mean, that is actually a factual statement. Ace Frehley was awesome, but then there was the whole Peter Criss. What's his name?
Yeah, this when I start to zone out, I'm just like, I don't care.
So the answer to your question is the best Alice Cooper song, "School's Out."
School's Out for summer.
Yeah,
I know that one. I know that one, but I know it's not going to be in there. That's why I didn't say that. He said from the start that doesn't fit our theme, and it's not going to be in there. And everyone was like, can't you find a way to make it?
I know. It's such a shame. Poison.
What's the next best song?
Poison is.
Poison. Yeah, I know that song.
Yeah, that was when he sort of had his.
For that.
What was really funny? I mean, I know we're supposed to be talking about pinball and not necessarily rock artists, but what was really cool about Alice Cooper was when the whole resurgence of, not even a resurgence, but when that whole glam rock thing happened, where you had, Bon Jovi and Poison and all those other hair metal bands. What was so cool? Is that
a term, hair metal?
Hair metal. Oh, come on. Hair metal. No?
So just a heavy metal guy with just big, long, curly hair. Is that hair metal?
Skid Row. Guns N' Roses were kind of that era, but they were a bit more serious than the whole hair metal thing. But the great thing about Alice Cooper was he just slotted in and didn't actually have to change his look. He was already part of that glam rock feel anyway. It was very cool, and he just slotted in, released Poison, and it was as though he was always part of that genre. It was very cool.
The funny thing about these guys is that because they become famous for a certain look, they just never change it, right? Like, he still looks the same. Like, does he still have the same long hair?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Like, can you imagine? Like, can you imagine if he's been like, I just want to cut my hair, like Britney Spears did. You know, she just shaved it all off. I want to see that. I want to see a rock star with long hair just say fuck it.
So, do you know what his real name is?
Alistair Cooper. I don't know. What is it?
Vincent Damon Fernier.
Did you just Google
that?
Yeah,
of course I did. Absolutely. He was born
without Googling it, do you know what Snoop Dogg's real name is?
No, but isn't he called Snoop Lion now?
I think he changed it back because he realized that no one cares about reggae music.
Sure.
His real name is Calvin Broadus. It's not a very cool name, is it, compared to Snoop Dogg?
Well, Alice Cooper is a very cool name compared to Vincent Damon. But so I've always, it's one of those things with Alice Cooper. I've never really been into him, but I've always admired what he does, and I believe he has a very important part in music. And it's a thing that you'll see. We'll talk about this later, where I don't necessarily have to like something to appreciate that it actually has a part, and other people are more than welcome to like it.
Kind of like Twilight Zone, right?
Absolutely like Twilight Zone. Do you know what? Exactly like Twilight Zone. I have said many times that I hate Twilight Zone, but that doesn't mean that I think you're a dickhead because you like Twilight Zone. What I'm really saying is it's just not for me, but I can appreciate that it is a fantastic pinball machine.
You know what? I'm actually in the almost the same camp. I've never had super duper fun playing Twilight Zone, right? And all the ones that I've played, but I appreciate it so much. I'm like, the sound is just like mesmerizing to me, and all the stuff in there is just like I feel like so much effort is being put into it that I have to appreciate it, and I always give it a go, but I never really have fun. And I always thought, okay, this will be the last Bally Williams that I'm going to buy. Like, I'll get through my whole other list first. And now that I have it, to be honest, I mean, I got it to play nice, and I probably put about 20 games into it since then, and I'm not going to give up on it just yet, but I think it's just going to stay as one of those machines that I don't have fun playing. I don't think it's a turd or anything. It's just, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but it's not fun. I can appreciate it, and I still get good feelings when I'm playing it, but not the fun feelings.
And that just comes down to taste and preference. We don't all have the same taste. We don't all have the same preference. It doesn't mean something is good or bad. It just means that there are certain things in a game that we like over others. I do really like a good flow game, and I don't find that that Twilight Zone is a good flow game. Is really what I'm saying. But I think...
How do you find Wizard of Oz as a flow game?
Well, so Wizard of Oz isn't a flow game, but I didn't want that for a flow game.
How do you find The Hobbit as a flow game?
Hobbit... Well, I've got a Star Trek Limited Edition, and it is my go-to flow game. That's why I've got other machines that aren't flow. I think there is one game that everybody can absolutely agree on, and that is that Rolling Stones by Stern is the worst pinball machine, regardless of whether it has flow or not. In fact... That game...
It unites the community.
That game, it really does. Do you know what? That game could actually have such good flow if it wasn't for that ridiculous Mick on a stick getting in the way of the game.
He can't block all the shots all at once.
He blocks all the shots, Ryan. You've got to play this machine. You can see that there is this game there, but you're not allowed to play the game because he gets in the way of any shot that you want to do. Don't get me started on frickin' Rolling Stones by Stern again.
You got yourself started on that, money.
I know,
Shut up. All right. Moving on to Highway. There was a picture that was posted, was it 4 days ago, where, you know what we should do, Marley? Sorry, I know you're not going to edit this out because you can't be bothered, but we should really like list the date of our podcast at the start, like other podcasts do, because when people are listening to this, kind of like, a year from now or even a couple of months from now, they're like, well, what is the actual date? Well, it's listed on the podcast on the website.
It is. So. It's the 2nd of October, 2017. No one gives a shit, Ryan. And for those people that are listening for the first time, thank you very much. And it may be that it's 6 months in the past. I don't want them to feel like they're behind the times.
We're usually a little bit more professional than this, but Marty's been on the turfs. Marty's got a day off. He told me before we started recording that he's been drinking a lot. So you were trying to hide it.
I have had
talking about glamour rock, buddy hell.
I have had a day off, and I woke up at midday today, and as soon as I got up, had a shower, the very first thing I did was started drinking. And it's now 8 hours later. And anyway, that's why we're hoping this is going to be a fun episode.
So, Yeah, there's about 20 aliens that have been sent, and I believe they're on a container on the way to Cointaker. Who knows if they'll make it in time for Expo? I haven't kept up on the thread because, to be honest, I'm a bit bored of talking about Alien until I can play one.
Yeah, well, even though it's probably better just to think that it's a good game than actually play it.
You're gonna do all that, undo all that, saving that you did last week when you were trashing Alien.
I want it, as I said, I want it to be a good game. I just don't think it's going to be a good game.
We'll see. There's some coming to Australia, so that's what we wanted to tell people. There's some progress with Alien World. I don't even know why I put it in there.
Well, because it's
right.
news. It's news. There are
It's news.
actual machines, and there's pictures on the assembly line of these machines being assembled, and it is a good story because there's been so much bloody history with this game that they need to get them out, and then out in the hands of people, they can then finally make a judgment on whether it's a good pinball machine, rather than a couple of douchebag bloody podcasters like us just with a microphone and an opinion.
As long as we're the douchebag podcasters and not others. Right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and I think someone came on the forum and also said that Game 2 is well into development and on track to be released whenever they meant to release it. But anyway, moving on.
You mean Game 3?
Game 3,
yeah,
yes.
No one counts Full Throttle.
Full Throttle does exist. Oh my god. Oh my god.
So,
hey, talking about that, someone said that Full Throttle's flippers felt similar to the whole remake thing as well. So I wonder what they're using. There's not enough users to do any scientific tests. But
okay, well,
maybe when people get an Alien, they'll
Well, that probably actually makes a lot of sense because one of because I have played Full Throttle quite a bit.
Yes, we remember.
Do you? And
yes.
and I remember saying that I felt the layout was really awkward. This makes a lot more sense. The reason why I was saying that the layout was awkward is I could never hit my shots consistently. So if it is using the same sort of flipper configuration as the remakes, and that's probably why I couldn't hit my shots because they're random.
It all makes sense. It's all coming together, Marty. It's all coming together.
This conspiracy.
All the machines that suck. It's just computers. Just get rid of all the computers.
Yeah. So get rid of computers.
I mean, the Jersey Jack ones feel fine. He used a computer, but he must be using something else to drive it. I'm sure now that the test is out there, he'll start testing every type of machine, the spike machines, all that stuff. But the next news article we want to talk about is, I'm not sure if people have been following this because it's not a massive story or anything, but on Steve Ritchie's Stern Star Wars that was released recently, there is a post right next to the F on the force target. So on the left-hand side, you've got the drop targets, FORSE, and underneath there's a little post that sits there, and I believe it's meant to stop, auto-launch drains where the ball will automatically kick out, hit the three-bang target, and it seems to kind of shoot straight from there. On the Pro, apparently, it can, it's a little bit less brutal, but on the LE, that post does not exist. It not only doesn't exist...
Well, it does exist. It's just not on the playfield.
Well, yeah, the post is apparently sitting in the goodie bag. So people are trying to figure out... People ask Steve Ritchie and they put the question out there, like, why does the Pro have it? And the playfield layout is, I believe, identical, except for the, obviously the extra toys and some stuff in there. But I think the geometry is the same. So people are saying, well, why is the Pro... have this post? Why does the Pro have this post, and why does the Alley and the Premium? Why is it not there? And no one responded. So somebody took it in their own hands and saw the post in their goodie bags. So they decided to drill the post into their playfield, which I think is crazy because it's not only missing the artwork doesn't follow the line. There's no hole there. So it's not there from a design process. They didn't forget to screw it in. It's not there at all.
Well, and he said, so the post near the bottom of the 5-bank on the Star Wars Pro is unnecessary on the limited edition. Please don't drill your limited editions because somebody actually did drill a hole and put a post in there.
Yeah. So Steve Ritchie said, like, don't do it. And then everyone started asking, like, why is it on the Pro, and why, what's the difference between the two machines that one needs it and one doesn't? And he didn't respond, I believe. I haven't checked it recently, but it's still a mystery. It's the mystery. It's, why does it exist, and why is the LE harder? I mean, the LE is usually for the home environment, and the Pro is one location. So you would almost think that it should be the opposite, right? The Pro should be more brutal because it needs to earn money. The LE should be easy because rich people aren't as good as playing pinball as poor people. I don't know.
Well, I actually think it's potentially the opposite. At home, because you have got as much time as you want, it's actually better to have a harder machine because you've got more time to learn it.
Yeah, we can agree to disagree on that.
Yeah, we can agree that I'm right. And what we could also say is that, as a customer, I know you talked about it from an operator's point of view with the Pro, but from a customer, I would want that post to be there playing a Pro, so I can actually have a longer game.
Okay. Yeah. Well, as I said, I mean, the mystery will continue.
It's an odd one, isn't it?
It's very hard. As I said, people were asking Steve Ritchie on Facebook, and he was ignoring the question. I saw someone ask it, and Steve Ritchie liked the post and then just didn't respond. I said until it was too late when someone drilled his playfields, and then he said, like, guys, please don't drill it. But anyway.
Yeah, it's an odd one. Maybe one day we'll find out, but the machines are different, so deal with it.
What's the next bit of news, Marty?
Well, so we've actually seen that there is a Magic Girl pinball machine for sale in Australia. And so,
Ooh.
Ryan, if you had, to the opportunity to buy a Magic Girl pinball machine in Australia right now, how much would you pay for it?
I think I'd pay. I think $40,000 is a good deal. Is that a good deal? 40 grand Australian dollars?
It's interesting because, we talked about, Deep Root. There it is again, Deep Root. We talked about the fact that Deep Root might be making that pinball machine again. Probably not for a couple of years. It depends on whether you as a collector want a Magic Girl because it is such a rare machine and you're prepared to pay $40,000 for it.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure how many collectors there are in Australia. I mean, I think the collectors that will spend that much money on a pinball machine are the ones that you kind of never hear about. They're the ones that, like, there was that high-end surfer pinball machine in Australia. It was like, it was a retheme. It was like 15 grand or something, and apparently they sold 3 or 4 of them to like people that they're not pinball people. They're just high-end collectors of rare stuff.
Yeah.
Surfer people.
What's it called? Sunset Riders, I think it is.
Sunset Riders.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a remake, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's a remake of 8-Ball, the original 8-Ball that had, the likeness of the Fonz on the back, and they remade that into a surfy theme. And it wasn't just that it was rethemed, because anyone can do a retheme. The materials that they put on this were absolutely spectacular. So,
let's not mention who made it. Yeah. So if it doesn't sell, Marty, where is this machine going?
Well, I believe it has been announced, and we will talk later about the events that are coming up, but you will get to see this machine at an event coming up in Melbourne.
Unless you want to buy it. If you want to buy it, no one will ever see the machine except you, and you will be the trophy, you'll have the trophy pin of Australia. There's no other rare pin. There's only one in Australia, and I'm sure there's only, who knows if Deep Root is ever going to be able to get out of this mess, so there might only ever be one.
Well, that is correct. And so if somebody did want to get this machine, where could they get it?
Our good mate Wayne, Mr. Pinball.
Mr. Pinball.
Do you reckon there's a bit of wiggle room on 40k, Marty?
There could be. 40k. That's a lot of money, but I don't know. If it never gets made again, it's people we know. Lucas we know has got a Big Bang bar, and he paid a pretty coin for that, and doesn't regret it.
No, I like Big Bang bar. It's very unique. It's I hope they never remake that. I mean, I think the hobby needs I think it just needs for certain pins become cheaper. I understand the whole Medieval Madness thing, like that. I think it needed a remake because people were just asking crazy figures for it. But Big Bang Bar, like I don't think people consider Medieval Madness to be a really good game. I don't think people consider Big Bang Bar to be this amazing game, and I can't see. I think it's just crazy for people to. I hope they don't remake Big Bang Bar and Kingpin because I just think if you spend crazy amounts of money on that, then it just the whole thing doesn't make sense anymore. I've seen some videos of Kingpin, like just buy Whodunit, and you've got. I know it's not the same theme, but games that cost $2,500-3,000 are probably better than Kingpin. It's just that there's only a couple of them out there, really.
Absolutely.
But Big Bang Bar is at least you can. It's a sex simulator, right? It's at least
Sure.
It's the closest thing you can get to a sex simulator on a pinball machine. So that's why it's unique. That's why it's special. Don't remake it, please.
And so the next piece of news is that it's been announced that there's going to be an official stream of Jersey Jack's next machine, Ryan.
Yes, this is great because I was there last year, as I've probably mentioned 1,000 times, but everyone else that wasn't there had to watch it through a Periscope stream, and it was weird because I was there with the guy Charles Thomas. Hi, Charles. And Jack just kind of like right before the stream just gave me his phone, like, "Hey, can you like film it for me?" And he was like, "Sure." He's like, "Oh, how should we do it? Facebook Live or Periscope?" "Okay, let's do Periscope." And then people kind of like people posted on Pinside, and I think they posted on their Facebook page, and it was just kind of like really unorganized. So they've learned their lesson from the feedback they got last year, and this year they're teaming up with the good guys at Buffalo Pinball.
Yes.
Which are Kevin Manny and
Nick Lane.
Nick Lane, yep. And they're going to be running the stream, and they're also the guys who did the Buffalo Open stream, and that was just like insanely professional. So they've got a good setup, and I can't wait to be sitting at home in my underwear at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Sure, we didn't need to know that piece of detail.
Well, I'll be more relaxed this time because I'll be sitting there just watching on the big screen. I'll put it up on the Xbox, and I can see the reveal in all its glory.
Right. Well, so we do know that the guys from Buffalo Pinball do listen to this podcast. Say hi, boys.
Do they?
Yeah, they do. I know they do.
Oh,
and
sweet.
Yeah, absolutely they do. So I just want you to know, Nick and Kevin.
You remember one name, I remember the other.
So that's right. It's 50-50 here. So when you guys are streaming, I just want you to know throughout that entire stream that Ryan will be watching you in his underpants. I want you to think about that when you're streaming. Okay? And you know what? If you wanted to stream also in your underpants, so be it. Just to make Ryan comfortable.
So that'll be, we won't say it's rumor anymore. It's Pirates of the Caribbean. So we're at the 2nd of October here, and that is happening in at the ends. I say not this Friday, the next Friday for Australians. For people in the US and everywhere else in the world, it'll be Thursday night.
Yes, so it'll be 8:30 p.m. Central, 9:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, October 12th, and it'll be about 14 hours after that for us, or before. We're in the future, aren't we?
Yeah. Didn't you see my Facebook post today?
Yes.
On our page? I converted the time and everything.
Yep, absolutely. So there you go. So watch that. I'm absolutely going to be tuning in for that. I'm very keen to see what it looks like.
We had a passing this week, Marty, of a very famous, iconic man.
We did. Hugh Hefner, the founder of Playboy magazine. He passed away. What was he, 91 or 92? Something like that.
91, I believe.
Yeah. So some would say he's had a pretty amazing life.
Yeah, I'm sure there are people that are close to him that are devastated, but it's not like one of those, comedian dies at 45 because he, was depressed and committed suicide. I mean, this is someone who a lot of people look up to as, an icon. Like he's living the dream.
Yeah, absolutely.
And who knows if he actually was, but he did seem to be a pretty happy guy, and he died, well into his years. So.
But the reason
He was
why,
pretty influential. Yeah, the reason why we're talking about it.
yeah, the reason why we're talking about it on a pinball podcast is there was actually a number of Playboy pinballs being made. So the first one,
Yes.
I believe, was 1978. Does that sound about right? The Bally Playboy. And
I should go on IPDB while you do this just to fact check you.
Here's a funny side note for you. So that Playboy pinball machine. So I think I mentioned before that I went to school. So my senior years of school, from the ages I think of, it was probably 12 to 17. We had pinball machines at my school, and one of the pinball machines that we had at my school was Playboy. Think about it, an all-boys school in their teenage years with a Playboy machine. Somebody should have thought that through.
They made 18,000 of them. Holy crap.
Yeah. What year did it come out?
1978.
I just wanted
December.
you to just read out that I was right.
Okay, you idiot.
And it was a great game for its time. It was a fantastic, simple layout, enough to do for the time. Very iconic sounds. When you put the money in and push the start, it makes a sound that's very reminiscent of Playboy. Just such a great game.
I'm looking on the Internet Pinball database, and there are a couple of Playboys before that, but I don't think they're the Playboy brand. It's Play Space Boy, and it's by Chicago Coin in 1947.
Yes, and I do know the one that you're talking about, and it is absolutely not related to the magazine.
Well, there are some. I'm looking at the the backlast now, and there is a guy, and there's 4 girls surrounding him. So,
yeah,
I guess they had the idea first.
I haven't seen that game for a while. I'm not sure he's into the girls that are in the backlast with him.
Not enough silicon?
Nope.
Okay.
But also, so that was the first Playboy, and we were having a bit of a conversation today because I'm not sure that you were aware that there was a Data East Playboy that was released, I think, in 1989.
Mate, of course I know. It was the Playboy 35th anniversary, and it was
reading it up.
It was well, you didn't even know the month it was released. It was released in May.
It was actually,
and you probably couldn't even,
it was produced for 6 months, I believe.
They only made 2,000. It couldn't have been a very good pin if they only sold 2,300 of them.
No, and it was designed by our good friend Joe Kamenkow, or as in
Kamikow,
as in Kapow, who did Batman 66. I've played it. I played it when it came out at the time, and what I will say about it is this: Data East machines have not aged well. That's fact. Would you agree with me? They've not aged well.
Why do you own one then? You've got 4 pinball machines and you own one.
Let me finish. So there were a few Data East machines, and towards their later years, that were quite good. And Jurassic Park, I believe, is one of them, even though it pretty much is a direct rip-off of Addams Family. Tales from the Crypt was also another good one. Guns N' Roses was fantastic. Baywatch was Data East. So those
Sega.
Was it? Okay, there you go. But those later models were actually quite good, and it's when they started using modes and started really fleshing out the rules. Before that, a lot of Data East machines were just really simple to play, punishing, and not a lot of fun. And this particular one reminds me also of the Star Trek that had it might have been their 25th anniversary that also came out, probably at the similar time. There was a pinball machine there. There was flippers there. There was a ball there. There was targets. There was ramps. There was pop bumpers. Everything was in this machine, but you might as well have had nothing in the machine. They were just really unsatisfying.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying about Playboy, the 35th anniversary. It was a machine by numbers that just wasn't a lot of fun, and if you played it today, you'd have one game and say to yourself, I probably don't need to play that again. But
Pinball, they were also developing a Pinball 2000 Playboy. I believe that was meant to be Title 4, so after Wizard Blocks
yes.
never came out. So it would have been really early, but I mean, it would have been kind of weird to see what they would have been like, because you would have had these hologram girls
Yeah, well,
on the machine, and I don't know, would there be? Because I know that there was a Stern one. I guess they kind of like took the license off Bally, contacted Playboy and said, hey, that their company's going under, give us the license, and they released a Playboy in 2002.
correct.
And
George
that's not a very
Gomez and your good
game
friend
either.
Dwight Sullivan.
Okay.
And so I've said this many, many times. I think Stern Playboy is a fun game. It is really actually enjoyable to game. I'm not a big fan of the theme, obviously. I've often said I wish they had been able to re-theme it. I like the layout. I like the shots. They feel very satisfying.
Marty,
I think it's
which version did you play? Because I think I've seen that there's a version where they got clothes on, and there's a version where their titties are out. Is that true?
That is absolutely true. Well, my understanding is that you actually, with the game, you actually get stickers that will have them either clothed or unclothed, and you can choose what you're going to put on your machine.
But I don't get it. What's under the sticker? Like an outline?
Well, no, they're actually like full, like a photo that is a sticker. So you can actually put a photo. Have you played the Playboy Stern?
No, I've seen one that needs a rebuild at.
Okay.
Well, who's got one?
I'll hook you up. We do know someone that's got one. I'll hook you up for some pinball style boobies. But there actually is this. There is it's Stern.
I'm gonna Google it now while you start
Playboy.
talking.
You've got to Google the peekaboo beaded curtain. So it actually has. It's like a box, and it's got these sort of beads that come down. And when you hit a particular shot, the beads open and reveal either a clothed woman or an unclothed woman. And it's funny. I don't know. It's just a terrible theme. I just don't think. And today, if that was released today, I mean, the uproar that we had on Woe Nelly. Imagine this today.
Well,
it just doesn't work.
Didn't we get some mail in that there's a company in Germany that was potentially releasing a new Playboy pinball machine?
Yeah, one of our little rumours sort of that we do get that apparently somebody is working on a new Playboy. So that'll be interesting to see,
well, especially now
how it gets released. Yeah, that's exactly right. So what I was going to say is that Playboy, it's very difficult to take that machine seriously. It is not like reading or watching a Playboy magazine. It is so badly done that you can't help but laugh when you see these things. Like when they actually reveal either clothed or unclothed nude women, it's just laughable because it is so tacky. It is just tacky. And I'm not even going into the whole, it's bad for women and women's rights and all that kind of stuff. It's just terrible. It just should never have been done, is what I think. It should never have been done. And
I think the sought after one is the one that was made the most. The original one. Made 80,000 units because it's classy, right? I mean, it was at Pinball Paradise and it looked really nice next to the bar. And the other day when I went there, it was gone. I'm not sure how if it was getting good coin or whatever, but it's not there anymore. And it just looked wrong. Like I got so used to seeing it there, the Playboy next to the bar with Hugh Hefner with the two girls next to him. Yep. It just I don't know. I think it's all about the back glass.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just found the email that we got sent. Pinball Center in Germany, apparently, whoever the hell they are. Pinball Center, they just stock parts. That's where I got like some of my Tron bits from, I think.
Yeah. Well,
apparently they're interested in making a Playboy pinball machine.
Well,
I heavily doubt now that anything will happen, but who knows?
Well, if something's going to happen, we will be letting you know. Don't you worry.
That's our job.
It is our job. And so, probably the last and interesting piece of news that we will talk about this week, and it's not really pinball machine related, but it's pinball related, and it's to do with forums, pinball forums in particular. So, if you're in America, there really is only one pinball forum that you go to, and that's Pinside. If you're in Australia, you've got a choice of two. You've got a choice of Pinside, or you've got Aussie Arcade. Now, Aussie Arcade is a forum that is dedicated to arcade machines as well as pinball machines, and it's got its own subsection on pinball. And for the most part, it's actually been you would call it a civilized, or probably a tame version of Pinside, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think all forums are similar in that you've got some dickheads, you've got some people that are really good, and you just have to kind of like ignore the dickheads. But with Aussie Arcade, it's a lot smaller than Pinside.
And because it's smaller, there's not a lot of trolls. You don't get that whole troll mentality, and you actually don't get a lot of very aggressive behaviour between members, and you don't necessarily have one. I do frequent Pinside on occasion, but you don't have that usual, the high flyer clique, or the bullies, the ones that know everything, have been there, have had the most posts, and if you say something that's slightly wrong, they will shoot you down. You don't necessarily have that so much in Australia. It is probably a bit more easygoing than most forums, but one thing to note is it is still a gaming forum. And I mentioned this, if it wasn't last week, the week before, that it reminded me back in the day when I was on a gaming forum. It was called Play Now, and it was all about, if you liked Nintendo, you would shoot anybody else down that liked Sony. And if you liked Sony, you would shoot anybody down that liked Sega. And it just was this forum war. So I was on that forum for years. Coming back to Pinside, it felt like I was back in those days. So I go there for information. The good thing about Aussie Arcade is it hasn't really been that bad until recently, Ryan.
What? Don't fucking pass it on to me like that.
Do you like how I did that?
You fucking hot potatoed me.
No. So look, bottom line is that the Aussie Arcade forum recently has become, I don't know, let's just say...
toxic. Just use the word toxic.
It has become a little bit toxic. And, there's probably some things that we could address directly, but Ryan and I spoke about this before, and we agreed to do what I said that we would do, and that is talk about it generally. And this is what I guess I wanted to say. And again, it comes back to what I was saying when we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, when someone wrote in about hosting a pinball party, and I said the one thing that's great about going to a pinball party is that you've already got pinball in common. You remember me saying that?
Yeah.
Yep. It's fantastic. You can just go to one of these places, or you can go to a comp, a tournament, or whatever. And the great thing is that you've got pinball in common. The downside is that sometimes it's only pinball that you've got in common.
Exactly.
And the downside of that is when it comes to anything outside of that, it can actually then enter the pinball world. And what we're talking about is, for those people that are listening around the world, there's a major topic that's going on in Australia about marriage equality. There's also some other sort of infighting as well. And those kinds of things, you really start seeing what people think. And I've found going to tournaments, I've met people and I've gone, oh, you're a great person. We've talked about pinball. Let's connect on Facebook. And then I find that on Facebook, they have completely opposite views to me. And what I would say is not very good moral views. But morals are very subjective. When it comes out on a forum, it brings out the worst in people, because forums can become an amplified version of reality. And, this week on Aussie Arcade, we were subjective to that.
Yep, it got me really, really down. And I got down on the fact that I got down on it. I know that doesn't make sense, but I was just like, why do I care so much about this? And it's because, people say that, some people, pinball shouldn't be a bubble, and that it's the real world and there's issues and you need to address them. But to me, pinball, maybe the reason why I got so addicted to pinball is that when I'm playing pinball, I'm in my own world and my own universe, and it's just me and the machine. Like you said before with Attack from Mars, you connect with the machine. That's what I try and do, and that's when I really enjoy pinball. And I can ignore all the issues that are going on in the world, people fighting, calling each other names, and there's no hate in pinball. Pinball in its purest form, to me, is just pure fun. It's joy. Hate doesn't exist. Regardless of what machine you're playing. If you're playing Walking Dead and you're killing people, you're killing zombies. It's I don't know. I'm in my own world. Now, when you spend all day on the forums and when you start, when you don't play pinball and you disconnect from that and pinball becomes fighting on forums, it really got me so down, and I was so kind of disgusted by the fighting and people that are meant to be getting along and pinball kind of uniting everyone. It was having the opposite effect, and it was dividing everyone, and people were saying nasty things, and then it was just like an avalanche. It started from that, and then there were about 5 threads on Aussie Arcade that just blew up, and I feel sorry for the moderator because he would try and control one thread, and then it would just jump to another and another, and it's all a bit too much. And I had so much fun this week playing pinball in the comp, which we'll get to later, and then your stream. And I'm not thinking about the forums that I'm there. I'm thinking about how freaking good pinball is, and how, but then when you go home and you've got a spare 5 minutes and you check your phone, yep, people are still arguing. People are still arguing and saying nasty and hateful things. So I don't know.
You know what? We aren't, as I said, we're not going to talk about these things directly. But what we are going to say is this, and when I say we, it's me, but Ryan has agreed for me to say this, and that is that there were some very offensive words said on the forum by a particular person, and as a result, we have the option of talking about it or not talking about it and ignoring not only that person, but who that person represents. And we just probably won't talk as much about that person and what that person represents. And that's just a choice, because at the end of the day, good people make pinball fun. You've been around pinball meets, and where you have that end of the night, and we'll talk about the comp that we come to, and you come to the end of the night and you think, God, there's some really, really good people that I've now met in my life as a result of pinball. In fact, a lot of my closest friends that I have now in my life, I've met through pinball.
Yep, and I've already talked about it before, but I kind of had that, it wasn't a horrific experience. I'm probably making it sound really horrific, but that I didn't have that much fun on the first pinball tournament that I kind of went to officially, and I used that as my basis of, like, that's what tournaments are like. Yeah. Tournaments are full of dickheads, and it totally isn't true, and you've shown me that through all the tournaments that you've taken me to, and I'm just horrified to think that if someone joined in on pinball like right now and stumbled across one of these threads, and they would just run for the hills. You would think, these guys are freaking crazy. Like, why is there so much fighting, when they all have this common thing that they love? And the answer is that, like you said before, I mean, we have this common thing, but people are different. They have different opinions. But just remember, right, just because you're not offended by something doesn't mean that someone else might not be offended. And you can puff up your chest and say, well, grow a pair of testicles and grow thicker skin. But there is something that everyone is offended by. And just because, you're not offended by certain words doesn't mean that someone else isn't offended by them. And we saw an example of that, which kind of turned the person into a bit of a hypocrite in my eyes. But let's not go into it. So let's just leave it at that.
We'll leave it there. My last point on that is, I will say categorically, I was directly offended, and I'm choosing to just move on and ignore it and not talk about it. So you can work out which bit of the message I was offended by. It was only one or the
about
other.
500 posts people to go through, but as I said, it happened again today, literally 2 hours before we went on air. There's another shit fight in Aussie Arcade, and this time it didn't affect me. I just laughed at it and I said, look, it's dickheads being dickheads, arguing about stuff that I simply don't care about. And you can't let this stuff affect you, because there are 99% of the people on Aussie Arcade and Pinside are really nice and kind people, and there's 1% that can't keep their mouth shut and keep on going off about certain things, and just ignore them.
Yep.
Ignore them, and your life will be happier, and they don't need to exist in your pinball world.
Yeah, absolutely. We've all got choice. And do you know what, Ryan? I'm going to say this as well, probably because I have been drinking quite a bit today. But one of the people that was involved in, there was quite a few people, but I just wanted to say, I've mentioned Kaneda's pinball podcast many times in this podcast many times, and he plays a really important part in the pinball community. Whether you like him or not, he actually plays a very important part because he sparks conversation. He may be quite direct, and Australians, we sort of like to be a bit of fun. He is very direct, and I personally myself, I find that, you know, I like to keep a nice, positive and maybe balanced view of the world, but we all have a choice to listen or not. And I think in this particular case, I was on the same side, which was interesting. But that doesn't mean that because somebody's got an opposing view to you, that you should then run them out. Actually keep the conversation flowing, because I don't think that there was necessarily some vitriol on Kaneda's side, is what I'm saying. There you go, I've taken a side.
Okay.
So listen, listen to it. Chris, I've said it. Everybody, Kaneda's Pinball Podcast, listen to it.
Cool.
It's true. It's a good podcast.
All right.
Competition time, is it? Now that we can move on from that terrible business.
That was horrible. Just edit the whole thing out, mate.
I really should. It just
no.
But it's just, you know, it's just one of those things. And particularly, you know, we do a podcast where all we want to do is spread news, and we want to have a bit of fun, and we want to laugh about things. And then, you know, sometimes there are some topics that we need to talk about that get us down, like, you know, the John Trudeau topic and this. That's just the world that we're in, and sometimes we just have to talk about these things, but we don't want to.
Yeah, now that it's dealt with, I can go back into my little bubble.
Yep.
And
we can just play pinball.
Again.
Just one thing. Here you go. Here's my advice for everybody. If you're feeling down, turn to your pinball machine. Go out wherever your local venue is. Just play pinball, because that will make you happier.
And interact with real life people, not internet people, because it's different. All right, competition
time.
So we've got this awesome prize donated by... Now, this is this quick story behind this. There's a guy in Aussie Arcade, Dave, and his lovely wife, Joanne. They had a problem with their pinball machine. A great guy called Eddie Edwards, sorry. He helped them out, a crazy amount of posts back and forth, and he helped them solve the issue. And they were so happy, they said, well, you know, we would have paid a pinball tech to come to our house to fix this, so, like, let us buy you a case of beer or something. And he said, no, I don't need it, but I do enjoy listening to the Head2Head Pinball podcast, so if you want, you can donate the case of beer to them. So Dave and his lovely wife have sent some money to us, and I went out and bought an $80 gift voucher, which can buy you a decent amount of booze, from Dan Murphy's. So Dan Murphy's is a big liquor chain here, and sorry to everyone in the US, this is one that you can definitely enter, but unless you have a Dan Murphy's strike card. Well, I mean, you can enter, and if you have a friend in Australia, you can give it to them. We're not going to not give it to you just for that. So we didn't think too much, because we've been so busy about the competition, so we thought we'd keep it nice and simple for us, but this is probably a really hard question for others. And I think whoever gets it right, we'll put them in a pool, and we'll choose it at random, just in case there are multiple guesses. Please name every single pinball machine that I own and Marty owns. Okay, now we have listed them all, so you don't need to know us. I'll give you a hint. Most of them are in the first episode, but I think I had maybe 12 machines or 14 back then, and I have a lot more now. So do your best. If no one gets it, we will. Yeah.
And what we're going to do this time, if you do happen to, and there's multiple people that happen to get as many of them as possible, we will then just go to like random.org, and we will do a randomized winner.
And just so there's no confusion, it's pinball machines that we own, So if I have a current swap, I don't want you to name the swapped pinball machine. I want you to name the machine that's sitting at someone else's house. And it includes the ones that I've bought, I haven't brought into the house, and includes the ones we have on site. They've all been mentioned. So it's a fair contest, but enjoy trying to figure that out. Oh, and that reminds me, I've got to go on Pinside and delete all because they could just go on my account and see all my pinball machines. So I need to do that now.
You need to do that, otherwise that'll be cheating.
Although you talk about
no one's really that bothered. We just want people to write into us, and considering the last competition that we had, which we just had a fantastic response, just write in.
And we do have another. We've just got competitions galore. We've got another competition coming up next week as well.
We do. So for those people, and I'm happy to announce at least the prize, for those people that missed out on a PAX 3-day pass, we were able to secure another one. So next week we will be having another competition. So we will announce the winners of this competition, and we will have another competition for PAX Australia. Sweet.
Collection is now private.
There you go.
What did we get up to this week in Pinball Marty?
So, and you sort of mentioned it before, and I gotta say, I am so bloody happy that you not only are coming along to pinball tournaments, which was my objective with all of this head-to-head pinball, but you're actually really enjoying them, and you're just doing really well. So we actually did the Bayside pinball competition this month, and
oh my god, it was so good.
It was so good. It was we were saying during the night, it was a perfect storm. So this tournament, we've mentioned Bayside before. So Lucas runs this tournament and does it really well. And it's been going for a couple of years, and normally it gets to about 30, 35 people each month come along to this competition. The perfect storm this particular time was the venue that we normally have it at had Kiss Destroyer playing. Now, Kiss Destroyer are a Kiss covers band. There you go, pinball related. So the venue couldn't be used that night. So they had to find another venue. And this year, again, some members of the Bayside Pinball Club opened up their work factory. So we were able to have the tournament at this particular location. That was one part of the perfect storm. The second part of the perfect storm is that it's school holidays at the moment in Australia. And the third is that it was a public holiday in Melbourne the day after. What that meant was, it was a massive, massive tournament. There was 6 machines that were put aside for the tournament. They actually had Terminator 2, there was a Shadow, Tales from the Crypt, Star Trek Next Gen, Tommy, Operation Thunder, Strikes and Spares, Theatre of Magic, Fishtails, AC/DC Premium, Kiss Limited Edition, Circus Voltaire, Addams Family, Dialed In Limited Edition, and a Star Wars Limited Edition. There was a Walking Dead Pro and High Roller Casino and Whodunit. And we posted on our Facebook page the best topper you will ever see on a pinball machine ever, and it was from this event, and that's the topper on top of Walking Dead. What do you think?
It was awesome. I would never have it in my house because my kids would just have unlimited amount of nightmares. But it was a zombie hanging over the pinball, and he was moving left to right.
It's creepy.
And, creepy as fuck.
But fantastic. And I spoke to the guy that that put it together, and it didn't cost a lot. It's just imagination and just the ability to put it together.
Yep. And how does we going to talk about the tournament, Marty? The format of the tournament was basically, because there was so many people, there was like 65 plus people there, I think.
64, yeah.
And 64, yep. And the way it works is you play, I've never played this format before, you get allocated to play on 3 random machines, single player games, and that score gets weighted, and the top 8 move on to a final series. And I've got picked on Star Wars first, and I was like, yes, I know this game more than other people, and I just had this absolutely horrible game because I played so much Star Wars on one machine, and then you move to another one, and it just plays differently, and it threw me off. I think I got 70 million or something, but no one knew how to play that game, Marty. The top score of the night was about 700 million or something. That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
For Star Wars, so it's definitely one that people are going to take a while to get used to. I had a decent game of Kiss, and Kiss brought me into the finals contention. And the last game, I was praying for Dialed In, and I got matched on Dialed In, and I just had the most insane game on Dialed In. And did you see that game, Marty?
Well, wasn't it that you actually chose Star Trek, and then you went, actually, I want to change to Dialed In, and I'd already picked Dialed In. Wasn't that one?
No. Star Wars, not Star Trek.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But that was in the final. So this is qualifying for the final. So
right,
I scored 2 million. You're probably busy playing a game somewhere next
probably.
to me. Yeah, I scored 2 million during qualifying on Dialed In, and it was. I'm not trying to boast here. I'm just explaining what happened. It was so much higher than everyone else's score that it actually propelled me into qualifying first above, the one. Keith Alwyn is the one in the US, but I think Jordan Treadaway is the one in Australia. Yeah. He's absolutely insane. So I got really nervous when that happened because I was like, well, I'm not better than Jordan, so I shouldn't be first. But you qualified, I think, third or fourth, Marty, or
no, I actually think I qualified sixth.
Sixth, okay. So you have to win 2 games in a row to get into the final 4.
Correct.
And how'd you go?
And I did. So my first game was on Star Wars, and I didn't necessarily have a fantastic game. I only got 200 mil, but my opponent, hi Vicky, didn't do so well on Star Wars. And everyone had said to me, because I got to pick the machine, and I thought I hadn't played Star Wars that night, so I thought I'd give it a go. And everyone's like, oh, Vicky put up a great score before, and I went, yeah, I'm just going to give it a go anyway. And so luckily I did win. I then got into the semi-final, and it was really interesting because another good friend of the show, Daniel Lex, in my qualifying rounds, I played Walking Dead. Now, besides the fact that this Walking Dead had a fantastic topper, it was really difficult to play. I just found but in particular, the left flipper was angled down somewhat, so it was very difficult to get the middle shot. So in qualifying, I got I think it might have been 27 million or something like that. So not a great score. I think the average was somewhere around the 32, 33 million. So it wasn't so great. So when we got to that particular final, lo and behold, Lex decided to pick Walking Dead, knowing that I hadn't done well. Unfortunately for him, my first ball was massive, and I ended up on 92 mil. So I came back nicely and got into the finals. I got into the finals with you, and for me, it wasn't about coming first. It's
come on, Marty.
It's never about coming first when I'm in a finals with you. It is only ever about beating you.
I'm over that whole thing. Like, I just want both of us to do good.
No. I am far too competitive for that.
You are okay, Marty.
Yes.
When we're playing pinball on the stream, you're a different Marty.
Sure.
When you're playing pinball at a competition, I feel like the Joker from The Dark Knight, because I feel like I'm always telling you, why so serious? Why so serious?
Because this is serious business.
It's not. It's just having fun with mates. The prize was like, I don't know, what was the prize?
It's the glory.
But what is the glory? To say that I'm more serious and I'm better at playing pinball than you? But
you know what? It actually is. You do need to concentrate. You do need to focus. So, yeah, probably I am a little bit more serious than I am normally. But, I kind of do want to do well. And more than anything, I don't want to do something stupid. I don't want to, lose a ball for just being, having poor attention skills or poor flipper skills. I actually just do want to do well. And I don't want to be silly.
Yeah, so the final games were, what were they? Kiss, which we got destroyed by Jordan on. He got like 400 million or something crazy.
Yeah, so I was player 1, and I finished on 76 million. I thought
you get the 4 points for that.
Yeah, and I thought that's okay. And Jordan was on like 4 million on his third ball, and ended on 391 million.
Yep.
And everyone was like, "Oh, you must have thought you were going to win." And I went, "No. I've seen that happen many times with Jordan on his third ball, and you watched him play. He is just phenomenal to watch."
Yeah, he seems to get pissed off when he loses the ball, but he doesn't break his concentration. He just comes back, and that's something obviously I need to work on, the whole performing under pressure thing.
Yeah,
and
that's the difference.
Talking about performing under pressure, the next game was Star Wars, and I was in the absolute box seat to take the 4 points of this because I set up my game perfectly, and I had TIE Fighter multi-ball right after I finished the mode. I sat there and I hit the 3-bang target over and over again. I didn't even go for jackpots until it was at 40. By then I kind of, the balls are drained. I hit the mode start, so I was in Destroy the Death Star on 40x. Like, each shot is going to be worth, with the multiplier correctly positioned, is like 300, 400, 500 million.
Right.
Right?
What happened?
I just hit a couple of shots and I was done.
Sure. What happened?
Well, I stupidly didn't stack the mode with another mode because I was so excited, right? And then when the balls came out, I was just like, I have to hit this shot. And it literally took me about 30 seconds to hit one shot. And I heard the replay go off, and I was like, on top of the world, like I hit the, that I know I've hit one shot because my score has just exploded in that one shot. And then I couldn't move the multiplier around properly, and I didn't know where the shot was, and that's all I got. I got one shot. So I ended up on I can't remember how much it was, but Jordan ended up maybe 10 or 20 million above, and it was all my fault. If I correctly stacked the modes like I was meant to, during that multi-ball, then I easily would have won. And the messed up part, Marty, is that it was the first time I've ever come home from a tournament and I replayed the events of Star Wars, because that was the other game that I was in.
Right.
In my head, and I thought about what I did wrong and what I should have done, and I replayed it then the correct way. And then this is 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, and then I stop myself. I'm like, oh my god, what have I done? Like, so why am I thinking this? Is this how people get into the tournament?
This is what I was gonna say. There are so many people. We hope so many people that are listening to this podcast that play tournaments, and they're just thinking exactly the same thing. How many times have you come back from a tournament just replaying that one game where you just fucked it up? You had everything going for you, and you just absolutely... And for me...
Especially with Star Wars, right? Star Wars is all controlled through the button.
Yep.
If you master the button, you can master the game.
Yep.
And
it's what tournament players do. We
it's
always do that.
It's the only time it's ever happened.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be the game that gets you out of the comp. It'll be just a game that's happened throughout the tournament that would have progressed you, that you just did something really stupid and it didn't put you in the best possible situation. It happens to tournament players all the time. So on behalf of all tournament players, because people are interested in tournaments, welcome to the tournament scene, Ryan. That's what happens.
Yep.
You're one of us.
Oh god. What
have
you done, mate?
And then obviously you came last on Walking Dead and I came first. So it wasn't enough for me to win because Jordan
already won.
Much
by the time Star Wars finished, he won. So he came first.
Yep.
You came second, and me and Dr. Curly Tech came equal third. And we were so tired by the end of the night. We just said, let's not have a playoff. Let's just be bros and be third together. Because I'm not sure if that affects your IFP ranking points or anything like that. But I don't care. I just wanted to be third. I didn't want to have the chance of coming last again in a final series. So.
And so 1 minute you're one of us, and then the next minute you're not.
Why is that?
Because a tournament player wouldn't do that. Tournament player, it's competitive. Oh, I want to come third. You've got to come fourth.
No, you didn't see me that night. You said like, all I want to do is beat you. That part of me is like instantly switched off. I wanted you to do good. I wanted you to take. Well, I don't want you to take down Jordan because I like Jordan as well. But you know what I mean? Like we're all just mates playing pinball, right?
Yeah,
just
right.
I don't know.
Right.
If I got into pinball 10 years ago, I would be like an absolute animal just practicing every day. But I'm at the point in my life where I just want to have fun. If you can't tell, I want nothing to be serious and everything.
Well, so speaking of fun, so there were 64 people that came along to this comp. So it's normally 30 to 35, 64 people came along. There were all those machines. It went till very late, very early into the night. And it was just one of the best tournaments because in between playing, you're talking to people, you're talking to pinball folk, and that sort of comes back to what I was saying before about you've got pinball in common with every single person that's there, and all you do is talk pinball all night, and it's just great.
And yeah, I think all tournaments could do with that is that, if you're not in the finals or if you're waiting a long time between games, having a couple of machines set up somewhere else is, if you can afford to do that. I know, people are restricted by, certain places on site. It just makes it enjoyable for everyone. And I brought my friend along, Nima, who, I think it was maybe his third tournament, and he's still new to pinball, and he had a blast. It was his favorite tournament because we got to talk shit and play games that he's never played before. Theater of Magic. He fell in love with it. Whereas if it was in the tournament, he would have been under that pressure setting to perform in 3 balls, but he kept on playing start. And anyway, good job to Lucas and everyone else involved, Nick, and I'm not sure who all the other people are, but it was just
Nick and Brad. It was their location, so thanks, guys. That was awesome.
I just wish all tournaments were that big and that cool, and I don't know.
And so what else happened this week between us? Well, we have, and I say we, but you have now discovered the best new pinball format.
Yes, it's called Pie Face.
Pie Face Pinball.
Pie Face Pinball. It's basically Russian roulette for kids, and we've converted it into a way to play pinball. So Pie Face is basically this game that you can play where you click forward something while you kind of like attach it to your face. I'm not describing this properly. Just Google Pie Face.
We'll have it in the show notes.
We'll have it in the show notes. We'll have the video as well, maybe. And if you a certain click, maybe it's like 5 clicks in or 7 clicks in, hence the whole like Russian roulette thing. It's going to fling. Well, it's meant to be pie, but you put whipped cream on it in your face. So Marty, you were streaming yesterday Star Wars and later on Dialed In.
Correct.
And I decided to come along halfway through, and we said that if we're going to play 4-player games, the person who finishes first is out. He doesn't have to subject himself to cream in the face. And the person who comes last has to do 4 clicks. The person who comes second last, 2 clicks. The person who comes third last, 1 click. And it just rotates around. And it made the games really fun, Money, didn't it?
For me, it was now more important than any tournament I've ever been in to come first.
And you did. You came first in every single game.
Correct. But not every single game.
Serious, Marty. Okay, well, because Marty, I got done in the face. Lex did, Boxy, we'd all, Andy, our gracious host, and we were about to wrap up the stream, and I said, well, this is not fair, Marty. Let's do a head-to-head battle, me and you, and whoever comes last has to do 4 clicks, and if you come first in the head-to-head battle, you still have to do 1 click in between, just in case.
Yeah.
20% chance of getting hit. And we decided to play it on Dialed In, and you wanted to do a phone battle, just so it wasn't too long. So we're going to play Dialed In on our phones, just to
using the Jersey Jack app for Dialed In.
Yep. For some reason, we couldn't get it working.
Yep.
Technology. So we decided to do a one-handed game.
Yep.
Now, to describe the game really quickly, I played 2 balls absolutely horribly. Marty was like triple my score, still in catching distance. The last ball, I drained and I walked away from the machine, knowing that I'd lost, and I had an 80% chance of getting splattered in the face again. Marty screams out, ball save, ball save. Somehow the ball save was off, but it gave me my ball back. And that was a mistake, Marty, because
What was I thinking?
What were you thinking? I managed to get in a mode, hit the big bang target, collect the SIM cards, get multi-balls, selfie mode. Everything was going. I got like 300,000 or something playing with one hand, right? It was a fluke. And you didn't.
No, so, I couldn't do much.
So, yes, you finally got. Well, it happened on I think the 6 clicks. So it went 4 to you, 1 to me. It didn't click, and then it got you on the 6 or 7 click.
I know.
And we'll link that. Maybe I'll try and shorten that video down. I'll post it up on Facebook, but I'll link it with the timestamp in the show notes so you can see Marty getting creamed in the face.
Yeah, not a good thing. And I just kept saying, if I had only not been such a good guy and told you about ball save, I might have survived. But you never know. That
was fun. I think we should, every time I come to a stream, I'm going to bring that I think it just adds
I think
an
it's
extra
what
element of fun.
I said. You can keep your critical hit. Pie face pinball is the new party pinball format. Do it. You can call it head-to-head pie face pinball. We can brand it.
I should start rebranding it, yeah, and selling kits.
Absolutely.
This is a good idea. This is
It was funny because, it's this bridge between having fun at a meet where it's just you're playing pinball versus the high pressure tournament where it's all about IFPA points. This is somewhere in between where you're still having fun, but winning actually matters.
No, it was good. I think with James and
Jackie?
James and Jackie, they were the only ones that managed to avoid getting squashed.
Well done, guys.
All right, so this week in pinball, what did I get up to? I found my IFPA rank profile, Marty, and since I met you,
yes,
I was ranked about 23,000 in the world. I've jumped up 20,000 ranking points, I think, and I'm now ranked 3,000 in the world.
Hey.
So thanks to you, Marty. Just knowing you has just propelled me.
You are welcome. You are welcome. That's what I've been able to do. Well, you know what? It doesn't actually take too much to jump up a little bit because there's a lot of people that may have actually only had one or two tournaments.
I definitely realised.
No, I'm not saying that to make you feel bad because I've seen you play, and I mentioned it last week, and I'm going to say it again. You are an incredibly good player. The one thing is that I think you're already mastering what it's taken a lot of people to master. And if you speak to, I think even Bowen Kerins has said it, and Steve Bowden has also said it. Hi, Steve, and hi, everybody. The first thing that you need to get over to become a good comp or tournament player is your nerves. Once you get over your nerves, then you'll play so much better. But it really is those first few tournaments that you go to where you do kind of feel the pressure. That will actually make you play nowhere near as good as your potential. But you're already really sort of calm and relaxed and in the zone.
Well, only when I'm playing good.
Sure.
As I said, like before I plunged the ball, like when I was playing Stacey in that knockout kind of match on Dialed In, which I kind of chose the second time because I had a good game on it. Before I plunged the ball, I was like really nervous, like unnecessarily like nervous. And it wasn't until I made him go first and he got, I think, like 10,000 on his first ball, and I kind of got into a groove. That's when my nerves were gone. And obviously it didn't make that much of a big difference on the actual final 3 games, but I don't know how to get rid of my nerves. I mean, people were drinking alcohol there to calm the nerves, but I don't want my reaction time to diminish. So I don't know. How do people do it? Do they take anxiety pills or something?
No, they actually just play a lot of tournaments. For me, there was this moment where after about a year, I was coming, and I was saying this to someone the other day, it might have been Paul RJ. Hi, Paul. I just kept coming last all the time, and then one day I gave it away, and it didn't matter anymore, and my nerves just went away, and I started playing better.
But you act now like it does matter, so what's different now?
But it does matter, but I don't get nervous anymore.
Okay.
So there you go.
All right. What else have I got up to this week? I fixed white water, and the whole family loves it. But it's now broken again because the flipper keeps on blowing up, and I'm so over fixing pinball machines at the moment. I don't mind fixing other people's pinball machines, but my own. I've got so many machines at work that I like just leaving a machine sometimes in a weird kind of state because it's just one less machine that I have to think about playing and fixing. What else? I've got to apologise to Ron and Stern because when I said I bought my Sea Witch, you asked me what's the special thing, the famous thing about Sea Witch, and I said I don't know, that they copied Fathom. I was just kind of guessing.
No.
But I think it's the other way around where Sea Witch was made, I think a full year and a half before Fathom.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because I still haven't got a Sea Witch in the house, but I really want a Fathom now. I don't know why. I think it's because like the Sea Witch and Fathom together, like they're just too...
Well, did you know that Fathom has just come out on the Pinball Arcade?
Yeah, but I don't want to...
No, well, before you find one, at least you can play it. And it was just adding another bit
that's not my style. You know that's not my style.
Know.
My style is to buy it and then either love it or hate it and get rid of it.
They're just very hard to find.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I saw the production numbers. They're so, there weren't that many of them.
No,
There's
that's
not
right.
18,000 of them like there are Playboys.
Yeah.
So My last question, Matty, to you is have you ordered your Terry Fold flaps? You we talked. I've reminded you about 5 times.
This is for my
flaps?
Hobbit.
Yes.
No, I haven't, and I've got
Why
this.
not?
No, but I tell you what I'm going to do. I've got a plan. Jersey Jack. Jack, hi. I'm going to send you. No, I'm going to send Jack an email.
Don't make him bring him down.
Yes, I am.
Are you
I'm
lazy?
going to ask. It's not lazy. I mean, it's saving shipping, right? They're going to have to. No. This isn't about laziness. So
No.
if I send,
You're not allowed to. They have to make. You have to agree verbally. It's like a contract that you are smart enough to do it yourself.
well, I am not smart enough to do it myself, but I know you, and you've committed to me that you
Oh my
will put
God.
my flaps on my pinball machine.
I regret that.
I know, but I am going to send a note to Jersey Jack. I'm going to say, Jack's coming out to Australia. Bring my flaps with Jack. Is what I'm saying. Why not? He's coming out.
Okay. I tried to do the same thing when I went to Pinball Expo last year. I said, "Oh, hey, the Beast Mech fix." Instead of sending them, like I'm going to see Mr. Pinball, I'm going to be there. Like, just bring him to Expo, and I'll bring them all back in my suitcase. And like, no, we got to do it officially, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see if you can get your flaps.
I can say.
See if you get your flaps directly from Jack.
I will. I'm sure he will be good for it.
Besides skipping the state this week, Marty, what have you got up to?
Do you know what? I would normally have done a lot of pinball this last weekend. In particular, as we sort of mentioned before, for me, I had the day off, and it was a public holiday on Friday, so it was a 4-day long weekend for me. And normally that would mean I would just spend every day playing pinball. However, we mentioned last week that the grand final of AFL was on, and that was the equivalent to Super Bowl, is what we said. And the suburb that I live in, Richmond. Oh wow. A particular player, the number, let's call him the favourite player.
MVP. It's equivalent to the most valuable player in any other sport in America.
Okay.
And he won the Brownlow medal the night that we were recording last week.
Yes.
And the Brownlow medal, is our equivalent of the MVP. And this guy, what does he look like, Marty? He's got neck tattoos.
He's got neck tattoos, and he's got a mohawk or a faux hawk. And overnight, a mural was painted of Dustin Martin, and people are listening to this in Australia are going, oh yeah, we know about that mural. It's all over the media. It's not just that it's all over the media, it's all over my frickin' street. It's where I live. So my street has just been packed. And so Friday morning, I was sitting here thinking, what do I want to do? I kind of need to get away from this grand final because it's just going to be awful. And I was looking out of the street, and there was, I reckon, between 150 and 200 people in my street, all wanting to get a photo taken in front of this mural of Dustin Martin. And that's when I said to my partner, right, we're going, and we decided to go to Hobart, which is the equivalent of going to Hawaii for people in America, in that you actually need to go on a plane and over a large body of water. So I went to Hobart, and in Hobart, there are no pinball.
Venues? There's nothing?
No, I looked on that Pin Finder Pro, and I think there was 2 pinballs around, but
Is that weird pinball at the Mona exhibition thing?
No,
Is it still there?
I didn't see the
They've taken it away?
No, I didn't see a pinball at Mona. I saw lots of very interesting things at Mona. Mona is the museum of old and new art. It was the most fantastic experience, but no pinball.
Do you know which pinball machine I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, keep on talking and I'll send it to you.
Okay. So that's what happened. I've had very little pinball over the last week, except for, well, I say very little pinball, except for the one tournament that we had on Thursday and the streaming of Star Wars Limited Edition and Dialed In Limited Edition. Now, here's what's really interesting now, Ryan.
Yeah.
Twice now, we've had side by side a Dialed In and a Star Wars Limited Edition side by side.
Mm-hmm.
And you accused me of something this week. Something heinous.
Flip flopper.
You called me a flip flopper. How dare you?
You are a flip-flop.
I have completely flip-flopped. I just, now that I've played more of them, and what I was saying about Star Wars is I like the fact that it surprised me, but it turns out the payoff of the surprise isn't really all that good. It's good. I still enjoy it, and I love that it's a really good Steve Ritchie game. But it's not. This isn't binary. It's not one or the other. I think that Star Wars actually is better than a lot of people have actually said. But I think Dialed In was just very satisfying. And right at the end of the stream, after we'd turned the stream off, I was still playing it, and you looked at me after I pushed start again. You went, "Hey, mate, I think we kind of need to go. It's everybody's waiting for you to leave."
Midnight.
Yeah.
On a Sunday night.
I just kept wanting to play. That's the difference.
I've got a love letter to read out to Dialed In. Dear Dialed In, I love you. You're one of the greatest games I've ever played. From Ryan. I'm currently cheating on you with other pinball machines, and I'm trying to get out of the relationship with 20 pinball machines that I'm struggling to do at the moment. And you've got very expensive taste, but you flow well. You surprise me, and you're just an absolute pleasure to be around. And one day we will be together.
That's awesome.
Did you get the picture I sent, Marty?
I did.
It's like a dead person inside a pinball machine.
Yeah, I didn't see that. Was it playable?
I just got sent this by, like, every time. This is the thing. When you're into pinball, I'm sure people have experienced this. When you're into pinball,
any pinball-related news item gets
anything,
sent your way.
pinball-related anything that someone sees, like, oh, hey, look, I just walked past a pinball machine. They send it to you. I'm like, oh, cool. So every time someone goes to Hobart, I'm guessing it's not there anymore, but for like 3 years, people will send me pictures of this pinball machine, like, hey, have you seen this? And the first time I was like, holy shit, what is that? And then like the 10th time I was like, yeah, cool, man, I've seen it. So I don't think it was playable. It's just a retheme, but they just made it look creepy, like there's a dead person living inside a pinball machine.
Well, so, a couple of weeks ago, my hairdresser said to me, oh, you're into pinball. I've got this friend of mine who's got all these pinball machines and they want to get rid of them and they need to get rid of them really cheap. And I went,
oh my God.
Give me my name. And then
Pachinko machines again?
No, a week later she went, oh, yeah, it's a Daytona. Sorry. Daytona is a racing video game. It is not a pinball machine. But they think it's the same thing. It's a pinball. No, it's
anything
not.
arcade related.
So I was very disappointed. I thought I was going to get one of those deals of the century that I could tell everybody about, and they'd be very jealous.
Well, the end part of your story is that Richmond, the team that you probably didn't want to win, just to calm everything down, ended up winning. They were the underdogs. They won 35-year whatever drought
37.
Gone, and the entire city erupted, and people were like, but this guy has like this idiot haircut. I'm sorry to say it if you have a haircut like Dustin Martin. It's not a mohawk. It's like a weirder version of a mohawk. No, it's a faux hawk. Faux hawk. Okay, whatever that is.
False mohawk. Anyway,
false, okay. Yep. And people were just shaving their heads on the streets and setting things on fire. It was crazy, and I'm glad for your sake that you weren't in town when it all happened.
Best decision ever was to get out of town.
But you're back, and people still taking photos in front of that mural, Marty. Oh, not only did he win the MVP, there's also another very prestigious award, which is the best player on the day of the grand final, and he won that as well. He's the first player ever that won all 3 awards: the Premiership Cup, the Norm Smith Medal, which is the best on the day, and the best player for the entire season. So there is a mural commemorating this guy on Marty's Street, and for months he's going to have to listen to people taking selfies in front of this mural.
Yeah, it's crazy. I can barely get into my street.
You should take a selfie in front of it as well, Marty.
Oh, you mean like the one I took just before we started recording this for the show notes? Is that the one?
Yes.
And you can see the look on my face, how pleased I am to have to do this.
All right, so there isn't much mail this week, which is because we're running over. But we did get a long message from Rhoda Dave about why the AFMR is very different than the originals, and he wrote to us in detail exactly why. And then literally a day later, there was that thread. So thank you, Dave, for explaining that to us.
And Dave was officially the first person that knew.
Because he played it when it was revealed. But people did complain about similar things to Medieval Madness remake. So you were the first for Attack from Mars, but not the first overall, Dave. I'm sorry.
So there you go.
We got some upcoming pinball events, Marty.
We've actually got quite a lot of events from now till the end of the year. Well, the first one is this Thursday, so the 5th of October. For those people in Melbourne, the Melbourne area, the Argonauts have got their next competition called Defeat the Cyclops. So taking the names from, I think, Jason and the Argonauts, that movie.
Yeah, this is the tournament last month that was really fun. Basically, it's unlimited play, so you're just playing non-stop for 4.5 hours and just trying to beat other people's scores. So for the money you pay, you get really good value. And if you don't want to sit there and play non-stop like I did, stressing about getting into the finals, sit there and have a beer. It's food. It's a great venue.
Yeah, it is. So,
hopefully you see everyone there.
Yeah, so it's at the Golden Fleece Hotel in South Melbourne, so we hope to see people there. But Pinfest is coming up this weekend, the 7th and 8th of October.
Yeah, it's Pinfest is in Newcastle, and a lot of people are going there. A lot of Aussie Arcades members who will be hugging each other and sharing beers with friends and making up for all the crap that's been going on. And yeah, that's on the 7th and 8th, and hopefully we'll have some news to report from there. Maybe I tried to get down there, but I was going to go with the family on school holidays, and 2 days in Newcastle with 2 days in Sydney. The days before was going to cost about $4,000, so I noped out on that, and maybe I'll go another year.
Well, maybe we can get somebody on that's been, but they'll have, I think, between 70 and 80 machines there and sort of unlimited play. And it should be lots of fun. I went there a couple of years ago, so it's at Caves Beach, which is, I think, about a 30-minute drive out of Newcastle. Should be a fun venue. They do it every year, so it's
the biggest thing we have, kind of, I guess, in Australia. It's our equivalent of Expo, but there was something a lot bigger a couple of years ago, but the guy just can't bring himself to do it again because it was so hard to do.
Yeah, Lee, if you're listening, do it again. It was the best event that we've had in Australia.
Just sell me and Marty the rights to do it, and we'll do it in Melbourne. We will.
Yeah. Watch this space. It is funny, but the over the years being into pinball, there's so many people that are saying we should do a big event in Melbourne, and let's just say we're talking about it at the moment. So we'll see what happens in 2018.
Or 2019.
Yeah,
it's a lot of organising.
It's a lot of organising, and I did speak to Lee and Dan that ran Pinball Expo in Sydney a couple of years ago, and it really was a massive undertaking. So it sounds great on paper to be able to do, but to actually get it up and running, I don't know whether I want to be that guy.
You're quite organised, Marty, so you're definitely the right guy to do it.
Yeah.
We also have the Pinball Flip Out 2017. What is that, Marty?
So we talked about this last week. So Jersey Jack is coming out, I think is the week after, a couple of weeks after Expo in the US. And he will be, it will be launched at Expo, but he will be bringing out a machine here. It's $50 a ticket. There'll be lots of pinball machines there. There'll be Jersey Jack number 4, and it is over 2 days, so the 21st and 22nd of October. And the reason why it is over 2 days, we may have mentioned this before, is that probably one of the biggest, let's call it criticisms from the last launch event of Dialed In, because it was only on 1 day, a lot of people really didn't get to play Dialed In, and the purpose of this event really is to promote Jersey Jack machines. So over 2 days, hopefully people will be able to get to play it, and more importantly, be able to buy it. I'll put some money down on it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it'll be almost the first time that a lot of people are playing Dialed In probably as well. They might have more than one machine there, and
yeah. So I believe there'll be all the Jersey Jack machines there. So there will be a Dialed In, there'll be a Hobbit, and there will be a Wizard of Oz as well. But not only that, there'll be lots of other machines to play as well. Don't really know the details on how many machines. I think we're just sort of scrounging at the moment, but it'll be really focused on just people coming along to play. And as we mentioned, there'll be a fun tournament over the 2 days. But there'll also be a special showing, Ryan.
Yes, unless someone buys it for $40,000, Magic Girl will apparently be there in the flesh, unboxed.
It will be there, we believe, unboxed, not necessarily able to play. We're not so sure at this stage, but at least you'll be able to see. And let's face it, if you were to play it, it probably would be just as good as not playing it. So at least we'll be able to get to see it. And I'm really keen to see what it looks like. And if it is as beautiful as people say, it'll be worthwhile just having a look at it.
So Chicago Pinball Expo is happening at the end of next week, and we will do we could have done it today, the Expo predictions thread, because we'll probably be the last ones to do it, but we'll do our Expo predictions thread, just a fun little segment, trying to figure out what everyone is going to do and see how right we are. We'll do that next week, since we have more time.
Yeah, so, and also we'll have more details on Sternorama. That's going to be at that event as well. So my understanding is that Stern won't necessarily be releasing a machine there like they did with Batman 66, but they may still announce a new machine.
Yes, well, we'll talk about it in more detail next week, but yeah, I think it might be a last-minute decision for them. So, and then coming up in November is Melbourne Match Play.
So this is sort of one of the biggest events, the biggest tournaments that we've got in Australia, and it is in Melbourne each year, run by Luke, who is one of the country directors for IFPA. And there's actually a number of different tournaments over I think a 4-day period. So there's a Flip Frenzy. So we talked about Flip Frenzy, I think maybe in our first and second episode. We had Jimmy Nails come on that explained his Flip Frenzy software. So that'll be on Thursday. Argonauts will have their comp on the Friday. That's the one that we're going to this week. And then on the Saturday and Sunday, you actually have the main event, which is Match Play. And as I've said to you, Ryan, you will really enjoy this format because you are in groups of 4 playing Match Play, and you get to play a lot of games, and you get to change your groups up and meet new people and talk pinball and play pinball. And it really is one of the best tournaments that we have in Australia. There'll be a Saturday Flip Frenzy, another one, and then on the Sunday there'll be the Greg Berry Junior Cup for under 16s, and it's a free entry. Greg Berry being he used to run RTBB, and he sadly passed away. So there is now an event. I believe it's a charity event. So lots of things. So it's really good to have that announced. So for those people that are interstate, and a lot of people from Australia, around Australia, do come to this particular tournament. But if there's anybody internationally, this is a good one to come as well.
Are you going, Marty?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Are you?
I'm still. Well,
are you in negotiation?
Well, it's not negotiation. I mentioned it to the missus, and I posted this on Aussie Arcade because I almost needed some advice on it. I just mentioned it in passing, like, hey, there's a pinball tournament over like 3 days on your birthday. And she was like, just immediately said, okay, well, you can go to that. We'll just do my birthday another day. And, I was like, no, I'm fine. Like, let's go out all day for your birthday. Like, I don't care about pinball stuff. It's all about me and you and this and that. She's like, no. Like, just go do your pinball thing and we'll just... And I don't know if it's a trap, if she's trying to, catch me out in a trap, or if I don't know. So I've got to. That's nice and fresh. So I've got to figure that out. I'm not committing to it yet until I've figured out if she really doesn't care, or if she's trying to make me choose between pinball and.
Well, I hope you get to come along, because I think that with how you are progressing already in comps...
mate, don't pump me up.
Well, it's actually true, but it's more so that I think you'll really, really enjoy this format more than any other that you've played so far.
Okay.
So if people do want more information, and do you know what, in general, there's a website, pinballscore.com, which is run by Luke, and that actually has all the competitions in the Melbourne area, and all the information is there. So it's pinballscore.com/MM2017. That's got the information on Melbourne Match Play.
Cool. And we've got PAX coming up as well, which we've kind of already talked about, but absolutely jam-packed, right? Like, it's just too many pinball events going on.
There are a lot of events, and it's great. And do you know what? For you, it's great because you now get to be part of these events as well.
Yes. What have you got me into, mate?
I know.
So that almost wraps it up. Remember, if you want to get more information about anything we're talking about, you can connect with us on Facebook. Just search for Head2Head Pinball. But if you go to our website, which is head2headpinball.com, all of our links are there. You can email us at head2headpinball@gmail.com. We're on Instagram, Twitter. You can find us on all the podcast apps. And anything else we got to say, Marty?
No, that's it.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to sing you out today, so I'm going to tell you this really quick story,
Sure.
which has absolutely nothing to do with pinball at all. It's just such a weird story that I just have to tell 1,000 people. So, all right. On the grand final day, I went out for lunch with the family, and I saw soft shell crab burger on the menu, and right. Soft shell crab burgers were really in 2-3 years ago. I'm not sure if you remember, but like every cafe was doing it. It was okay. But I haven't had one since then. So I thought, okay, yeah, I remember they were pretty good. Let's give it a go. And this thing came out, and I've had them before, and this one looks, it's literally just a full crab, right, in a burger. Okay. You can see everything, its eyes, the tentacles.
What?
Like it's everything. It's a full crab. But I couldn't remember 2 or 3 years ago, but I remember they kind of packaged it in a certain way that you didn't see its face.
Right, okay.
So it was a bit confronting to me. I just, I know that when I'm eating meat, I'm eating a dead animal, but you have that separation, so it's easy to do. So this is a full crab, and I kind of already felt a bit weird, right? I go to bite into this thing, and it was because it was it wasn't broken up or anything. It was this full crab.
Right.
It was quite a big bite. And what must have happened is, because they boil it in water, a pocket, an isolated pocket of crab juice or whatever it was, had built up in its head. You can edit this out if you want, Marty. This is fucking disgusting. When I went to bite it, it shot up, and this water was boiling, maybe, I don't know, 80 or 90 degrees. It was scalding hot. Shot up directly into my nostril. Through the crab's fucking eye, right? Oh man, I would never ever have a soft shell crab burger again. It scarred me. I was sitting there I was mortified. Hot crab juice, and I couldn't get the smell out because it was up my nose. So the whole day I was just smelling crab brain juice or whatever the hell it was.
Don't crabs and pinball, I guess, is probably what you're trying to say.
The title of this episode will be Ryan Has Crabs.
Hey, Ryan, do you want to know what's back?
What's back, baby?
Butt is back.
Butt is back?
Butt is back. See you, everybody.
See ya.
Guess who's back?